Good day, comic fam. Comics of the Voice here, and I've had some requests. Steve, what do you do for your next one? And I said maybe I'll do my beloved Transformers. So let's do the Transformers. So we're going to go through the first 10. Stay tuned. Good day, comic fam. The Voice here. And we're going to start with the Transformers now. Now, I don't have all 80 issues. I'm missing the final 23, and I have one sprinkled in there somewhere in the 60s. But I stopped collecting around 56, I think it was, when the Jim Lee covers, 55, 56. But we'll go through what I have. So let's get rolling, just like I did with the G.I. Joe. So the G.I. Joes I had collected from issue number 3. The Transformers series, this came out in 1984 in around September, so I was 13. And I think I started at number 2. So this one here I had to find after the fact, and I think I paid the big $20, but the corner is all crunched and there's about 1/8 of an inch tear on there, so not gonna hit the 9s because of that tear. But it is the very first issue. They went through about three printings. Yeah, there's 3 printings of this, and I'll show you kind of the differences from the printings, because number 8 and 9 that I have the second prints of those. But usually you can tell the first print because it's got the Marvel, the M, and it's 75 center. In Canada it's a dollar. And they have the newsstand and direct, so I only have the direct for this one. So this was a big issue, and again, CGC, they're going to have one hell of a time because the label would be massive with the amount of Autobots and Transformers that they find in this one. So they take you all the way back to the history of Cybertron, and how it was a peaceful planet, and the Decepticons had been building their armies in secret for years under the leadership of Megatron, and then they struck, and then for thousands of years they were battling, and the battle was so bad that the planet Cybertron was knocked out of orbit and went shooting through space. And then there was a threat to Cybertron when they were coming into our solar system, and they came into the Kuiper Belt with all the asteroids, and it threatened Cybertron. So the Autobots created a ship called the Ark to clear the debris from the Kuiper Belt. And when the Decepticons found out about it, of course, they went after them, and they had a big, huge battle. And then Optimus saw that he was losing, so he set a collision course for the 3rd planet, which is Earth. And he crashed the Ark into the planet. Now, Shockwave was left behind on the Decepticon ship, and he followed afterwards, and then there was a whole other battle, but that's another issue, which we'll talk about. So for 4 million years, the Ark laid undisturbed until a volcanic eruption uncovered it, and then a drone was sent up, and since the Ark was damaged, it didn't realize that there was a war between the Autobots and Decepticons, and it sent out a probe to find out what the sentient life form, and of course this is the 80s now, so mankind exists, we have machines, so it copied the machines, the aircraft, the weapons. All the weapons and aircraft were given to the Decepticons, and all the land vehicles were given to the Autobots, and they were equally fixed by the automated system of the Ark. And then when the Decepticons realized they were outnumbered, they fled and found a nuclear power plant, which they quickly took over and created their own base. So this one's called The Transformers because it's just number 1. They all have titles. The writer was Bill Mantino and Ralph Macchio. I probably said that wrong. And the art was done by Frank Springer. So this is the first appearance of Cybertron, of course. And we have the Autobots, which, let's run through the list. So we got Optimus Prime, of course. We got Prowl, Ironhide, Huffer, Bumblebee, Sunstreaker, Cliffjumper, Brawn, Sideswipe, Mirage, Bluestreak, Jazz, Hound, Windcharger, Gears, Ratchet, Wheeljack, and Trailbreaker. Lots of toys to be manufactured, because I remember in the 80s I had a bunch of these knockoff GoBot things. My first one was like this submarine that turned into a robot, and I had all these knockoff versions. So the Decepticon side, we have Megatron, Ravage, Skywarp, Thundercracker, Starscream, Rumble, Frenzy, Soundwave, Buzzsaw, and Laserbeak. And then we are introduced to two humans in this one. Sparkplug, which is not named at this time, like Sparky, and his son Buster. And we are introduced to Buster. Now the cover of this book is done by Bill Science. Oh, I'm gonna butcher the name. Let's sound it out here, Steve. Sinkowitz? That sounds right. I could be wrong. Probably am. So that's issue number 1 of the Transformers. Cool issue, a lot of action, a lot of things happening. Now, it was initially going to be just a 4-issue limited series, but obviously that didn't happen because it took off and it had 3 printings of like the first 10 issues, I believe, or even long. But beyond that, I think we're more than 2 printings. I think almost everything had 3 printings to it. And then there was additional stuff later on. So this is issue number 2. It's called Power Play. Writer is Bill, again, Mantino, and Jim Salkrop. And then the art is Frank Springer. So this is when Buster's dad is named Sparkplug, Will Witwicky, and that's when he's actually named. And he's got a jacket that says Sparky on the back. So in this one here, Sparkplug offers to convert the humans' fuel to something that the Autobots can use, because, you know, in the first one there was a big battle on Earth when the Transformers were created, and one of the first places they had a battle at was a drive-in movie theater, and that's when Buster ran across Bumblebee, and Bumblebee was damaged in the battle, and he took him back to his place and his dad, and basically told him about the big battle that happened, which his dad didn't believe until he tried to fix Bumblebee and saw that it was a weird car. And then Bumblebee transformed into a robot, and that was that. So they learned all about the Autobots and the Decepticons from Bumblebee. So, of course, once the Decepticons find out about this whole thing with the fuel conversion, Megatron shows up and abruptly kidnaps Sparkplug to create the fuel for him. Then we've got issue 3, which is kind of an iconic cover because it's got the Spider-Man in the black Spidey suit. So there's a big crossover in this one. This one's called Prisoner of War, right? Because Sparky, when Megatron captures him, he knocks him out, and he starts having dreams of when he was back in Korea and he was captured by the North Korean army, and he was put to work in the motor pool fixing their vehicles. But the cool thing is he sabotaged them. So he does the same thing for the fuel for the Decepticons. Spoiler alert. So he puts some kind of corrosive stuff that'll activate in the fuel and disable all of the Decepticons. So in this one here, we have a bit of a crossover because we've got Spider-Man, but not only that, we also had a crossover with S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury. So he was in this. So Gears and Spider-Man, they both work together to break into this plant to save Sparky from the Decepticons. So kind of a fun issue. And this is how the series goes to start us off. And then we have issue 4, which was supposed to be the final issue, but it didn't turn out that way. All right, this one's called The Last Stand. Writer is Jim Scalup, and the art is Frank Springer. Now, this is the first appearance of Shockwave, and actually the Dinobots are first appearance in this one because they're all named. They don't have dialogue and they're not part of the main story, but they're all named and shown in this one, along with Shockwave. Because like I told you, when the Ark crashed on the Earth, Shockwave was in the Decepticon ship, and he followed afterwards and then was going to claim the Ark and everything for himself. But what happened was the Ark defended itself by sending out another one of those drones, and then of course the creatures at the time were dinosaurs. So it created the Dinobots, and the Dinobots are Grimlock, Snarl, Swoop, Sludge, and Slag. And we're talking 4 million years. So it was 4 million years ago the Dinobots attacked Shockwave, and they just by luck defeated them, and they all sunk into the tar pits, and they were all disabled or deactivated for 4 million years. And of course there's an eruption or something happens, and Shockwave is reactivated, and he comes out, and the Autobots and the Decepticons are fighting each other, and that's when Witwicky's corrosive fuel takes over and disables the Decepticons in the battle. And, you know, the Autobots are no match for Shockwave. He shows up and he takes over everything and wipes everybody out. So now is going to be the time for Shockwave, which is pretty cool. And then we have this awesome cover. So the cover is done by Mark Bright. Beautiful kind of painted cover. And again, we're kind of seeing what's happening. So now in the end of the issue 4, it says not the end. So then they continued on to issue number 5 because they realize it's going to take off now, the whole series. So this one's called The New Order. And then we have a new writer on this now, Bob Budiansky. And then the artist is Alan Kupperberg. So this one has actually, too, the first appearance of Josie Beller, and she becomes Circuit Breaker later on. She's a computer programmer that works for Black, what's the guy's name? Black something. I gotta go look at one of these last issues here to find out the name of the guy here. BlackRock. Yeah, BlackRock. BlackRock Industries. So the guy's kind of like a Tony Stark, where he's got tons of money and lots of resources. And she works as a security and computer programmer. So they have an oil rig, and she decides to defend it against any of these big, massive robots by putting all these weapon systems out there. So in this case here, Ratchet and Buster work together, and they sneak into the Ark to rescue the Autobots. And then they find that Optimus Prime's head's being used to make new Decepticons with the Matrix that he has in his system. Because now Shockwave has taken over. He's restored some of the Decepticons. Megatron he's got all tied up, and he's basically the new sheriff in town, and he's going to just take over the whole planet. All right, so he's even worse than Megatron, if that could be believed. And then of course Megatron starts building up his strength, and then goes to try and attack Shockwave, which doesn't work well for him. So this one's called The Worst of Two Evils. So again, with the writer of Bob Budiansky and Alan Kupperberg doing the pencils. What happens here is Buster sneaks in and talks to Optimus Prime's head, and Optimus transfers the creation matrix into Buster's head. So now Buster has the creation matrix, and that's going to defy Shockwave making new Decepticons. He still ends up making a couple of them, but when it comes to Jetfire, he couldn't make them, so he's finding out that something happened with the Matrix. So in this place here, Shockwave defeats Megatron again. The two of them battle each other, and then basically subdues Megatron and makes Megatron his lackey. And then all the Decepticons are following Shockwave now. He's the new leader. So unfortunately, on the Autobot side, the only one that's left is Ratchet, who's the mechanic or the doctor, and Buster. So now they got to figure out what to do. And Buster's head's a little messed up because, you know, he's got the Matrix in him now. This one's called Warrior School. And the writer, again, Bob Budiansky, and the art on this one is William Johnson. So this one here, Ratchet goes into the Ark and sees Optimus Prime, and Optimus tells him that, you know, he's got to do something to fight Megatron and the rest of them. And he's like, what the hell can I do? I'm just a doctor. I'm a physician. I'm not a warrior. So Optimus says, well, you got to kind of think like a warrior. So Ratchet, using the information from what he saw in the computers about how the Dinobots defeated Shockwave in the past, makes a deal with Megatron saying that, you know, he'll defeat Shockwave in return for access to the Ark, and the Decepticons leave. Right? So Megatron agrees and says, yeah, no problem. So he gives them some resources to go get the Dinobots so they can defeat Shockwave once again. And then we have our first cover appearance and first full appearance of the Dinobots in this one, even though they've kind of showed up before, so you could call that one a cameo, even though they're all named, but they weren't part of the story, so I guess that's a cameo. And this is the first full appearance / cover appearance as well. So this one's called Repeat Performance because, again, now the Dinobots have got to finish what they started with Shockwave. So the writer is Bob Budiansky, and we got William Johnson on the arts. So Ratchet finds and activates the Dinobots, and then of course he sends a transmission to Megatron that they defeated Shockwave, which is fake because he just uses the old footage from Snarl's memory banks and sends that images to Megatron that not only was Shockwave defeated, but the Dinobots are now not a threat. So Megatron figures, hey, this is cool. Now I can wipe out Ratchet and take over the Decepticons and be the leader again. So of course Ratchet's got that sneaky little suspicion that, you know, he knows that Megatron's going to scam him. So when they show up to seal the deal, Megatron goes to attack him, and Ratchet had the Dinobots all hidden, and they come out and they attack Megatron. And then he defeats all of the frickin' Dinobots, of course, and then Ratchet hits him once and then knocks him off of a cliff. He turns into the gun and then disappears into the snow because he's going to show up later, and his memory's all messed up. But he's now back to his gun mode, which is kind of cool. And this one here, we kind of got a little bit of the circuit breaker because Josie Beller, she's in the hospital after the oil rig was attacked in a previous issue. And she got hurt and she's in the hospital, and she's making all this certain printed circuit armor for her body to make her body work again. And then it has the ability to make her fly, and she can shoot like electricity and stuff and damage the robots. So she's going to call herself Circuit Breaker. So it's kind of a cameo of her making her armor, and even though she's already appeared in a previous issue as a full character, but now she's transformed into Circuit Breaker, and she's going to show up in the next one. So this is the first print, and you can see it's got the little M on it. This one here is a second print, and you can see it's got the 75 cent, and then there's nothing underneath for the Canadian price. And it says on the inside of the splash page at the bottom, it says second print. So they all say second print on that first page, but that's kind of how you tell, because this is more of a rectangle, and the price looks a little different. Then we got number 9, which is the first full appearance and cover appearance of Circuit Breaker. So that's Josie Beller there, and she is mad. She hates all the robots. She doesn't know that there's Decepticons and Autobots, but she doesn't care. She wants to wipe them all out, and this one's called Disintegrated Circuits. Writer is Bob Budiansky again, and we've got Mike Manley on the art. So Wheeljack and Jazz, actually Jazz is the one that makes the deal with BlackRock for converting the fuel into something they can use, and he can supply the fuel, and the Autobots will supply protection for all of BlackRock's assets from the Decepticons. So that's the big deal. And then he's at a racetrack racing his cars, and of course the Decepticons come in and attack, and Circuit Breaker, she comes in and she starts attacking both the Autobots and the Decepticons, and BlackRock is trying to tell her, look, there's a difference between these guys. There's good and evil. And she doesn't care. She just wipes them both out at the same time. She takes out on everybody. And then at the end, she decides to listen to BlackRock and, you know, obey his wishes about, because she's still an employee of, and a very loyal employee of his. And she doesn't like any robots, but she's gonna say that, yeah, you're fine, no issues. But she still has issues. You know, she's always gonna hate. Haters gonna hate. So that's a first print and a newsstand. Probably one of the only news. No, I got a couple of newsstands in the issues. And then this is a second print. And this one, again, hard to tell because you got to look at the corner, but they're both rectangles. So that one's got a rectangle, and this one's got it. Oop, get it up there. But you can see that one's $1. So that would be the Canadian price variant in a newsstand, which to me it's just a regular edition. And this one's got 75 cents and no thing underneath it. So this is a second print. And again, it says it inside. And then we're on to the final one. So number 10. Very popular issue. Got this one in a newsstand. And again, $1. So Canadian price variant, or in my country, it's just a normal one. This one's called The Next Best Thing to Being There. Bob Budiansky is the writer, and Richard Villamonte is the art. So this is the first appearance and cover of the Constructicons in their form of Devastator when they combine together, because you've got the 5 individual ones, and then it's also a cameo of Jetfire. So the creation matrix, Shockwave had taken the head of of Optimus Prime to another location and was creating all these little brains. So actually in the last issue, this one here could be considered the cameo, because it's got the 5 little brain modules sitting on the table, and Optimus is putting life into them. So that's the cameo. And then this is the first full appearance of Scavenger, Mixmaster, Longhaul, Bone Crusher, and Scrapper. And those are the Constructicons who can combine together to create Devastator, the huge robot. So now, since Shockwave has established his command and got some new Decepticons going, he wants to conquest Earth because he sees all these natural resources. Next thing for him to do is create this massive satellite dish and contact Cybertron. And the Autobots are trying to do the same thing. So everybody's trying to contact Cybertron to get reinforcements sent to Earth. And of course the Autobots attack, and Devastator pretty much almost wipes them out, but they manage to prevail and take out the dish before he can send a transmission. But secret to all of them, Optimus Prime sends a signal through this thing and through Soundwave back to Cybertron. So he fooled them all. And then we're kind of left hanging here because now they've got Optimus's head back, but he doesn't have the creation matrix. It's still inside of Buster. And Buster on the sidelines has been able to fix all of his dad's cars because his dad had a heart attack and ended up in the hospital. And he's been taking over the garage. And he was not much of a mechanic, but now he's got the creation matrix in him, and he's been able to fix all these cars, which is kind of a cool side note. So we got the 2 stories. We got the Autobots, Decepticons, and then we've got the human stories. And there are some other minor characters in there, but I don't think they really play much of a role. You've got a girl that was interested in Buster. I forget her name, Jessie or something, and a friend of his named O. Just O. So that is the first 10 issues of the Transformers. So I'll just keep going with this series every Monday and until I hit to 56, and then that'll be the last of it. And then, of course, I can go into the movies, because we had Transformer the movie, which was a 3-issue series, and then there's a couple of 4-issue series. There's one called The Headmasters. There's like an Order of Battle for the Transformers. I forget what that's called, and that's like a 3 or 4-issue series that talks about all of the different Autobots and Decepticons and all their weapons and cool stuff. So that's the start of the Transformers. Hope you guys enjoyed this little review, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.